It's a Flippin Frenzy! This is a collaboration with a bunch of creatives from Sonnet's Creative Network, where we sent each other some great goodies from our thrift stash. So I was fortunate enough to receive this great box of goodies from Cindy from Spark of Vintage. Go check out her channel. She has some amazing stuff and she is linked in my description. So she sent me a bunch of these fiber decoupage sheets, which was really fun to experiment with. I'd never used before. She sent me a cute little mason jar, a galvanized pig, a couple of frames, and a box full of all kinds of goodies, including some knobs, small metal frame, and a bunch of resin castings. And this beautiful metal frame, a little cute wood frame, and a little galvanized bucket. So let me take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Jen, and I'm the Upcycling Alchemist. I love to take thrifted and vintage finds and turn them into something beautiful. So if you like thrift flips, trash to treasure, and DIY projects, please subscribe to my channel and follow along with my shenanigans and my projects and my vintage booth. Alright, so let's get started with these projects. So I'm going to start with this box. And before I could start painting it, I realized there was a little piece of the interior lining that had to be glued down. So I'm taking my Titebond Quick and Thick and just giving that a quick little fix. And then I'm painting it with this brown from Waverly called Truffle. I wanted this to have kind of a rich look. The vision I had for it was going to be kind of a dark, vintage looking, rich box. And this brown is going to dry much darker than how it looks right now when it's wet. And being the incredibly impatient crafter that I am, I'm giving it a quick blast with my heat gun to dry it. And while that's finishing drying, I'm going to work on this little metal frame that I'm going to use on top of the box. And it had these little glue parts. I'm not exactly sure what they were, what to call them, but they were very sticky. And so I used my heat gun to melt those a bit so I could pull them off, and they came off pretty easily. So now I am working on adding some air dry clay to the inside of this little frame, because this little metal frame was three-dimensional, but it was hollow on the back side. And so there wasn't anywhere for glue to grab onto the box, and I wanted to glue this on top of that little box we just painted. So I'm adding some air dry clay to the back of it to give it a base that I can use to glue it down. Now I have some old air dry clay that I keep in a bag, and it's the not the best quality stuff, or it's a little bit older, or whatever it is. I kind of just have a mishmash of the bad air dry clay. I don't want to call it bad, but the not my good expensive moist kind. Oh, don't use the word moist, Jen. Okay, starting again. Anyway, my point is I'm not using my good air dry clay here because it's not going to, I don't have to worry about it cracking or anything. Now, let's talk about how I painted a bunch of things unnecessarily in this video. This is the first thing I unnecessarily painted, and I'm not sure what I was thinking, but this just gives you an idea of the process I go through in crafting. And I have this okay, I want to paint it gold or some sort of metallic gold tone, but I think, oh, maybe it needs a yellow base. Well, then I'm like, that's not smart, because we all know that if you paint something a darker base, then the gold is going to stand out better. It just covers better the metallic paint. Now, I could have edited all of this out and just showed you the final layer of paint that I added to this and the other things I unnecessarily painted in this project. But I want to show you that crafting doesn't have to be a perfect process, and I this is the process I went through this time. Sometimes I do things right the first time, but most of the time it's okay, I think I have an idea and I'm just gonna go through it as I can. And that's also a metaphor for life. So there you go. Life Lessons by Jen. Okay, enough rambling. So I knew I wanted to use this decoupage fiber sheets stuff. I'm not sure what to call them because they're kind of more material than they are paper. I wanted to use them on this I'm digressing here. We're talking about a different project still. We'll come back to that. So again, here's part 3 of things I unnecessarily painted, thinking I was going to give this peacock some metallic paint, and so I ended up painting it white, then I painted it black later. Back to the decoupage paper. So this little galvanized pig and the bucket I painted with a base of white so that I could have my decoupage sheets have the colors stand out really well. And I wanted this pig to have a fall vibe. So I chose this sheet, and I'm going to give it a little bit of a fall, well, very much a fall vibe when I add the extra stuff to it. So I am using DIY liquid patina to decoupage this fiber sheet down, and I've never used these before, so it was a bit of a learning curve for me. And this little piggy went a lot better than my bucket did, so we'll get to that in a minute. But I was trying to be very careful about getting it down into those grooves of the, what do you call that? Crimped galvanized steel. And so you can see me kind of just going a little bit at a time, using my fingers to kind of push it down into those grooves. And I think the final part came out really cute. But what I did notice is I used a lot of the liquid patina, I used a pretty thick layer to make sure that it was going through all of this fiber page sheet, whatever you want to call it, because it is thicker than your typical decoupage paper. And I noticed that there was the color was running a little bit, so I had to figure out what I did wrong there. But we'll talk about that later. Back to the box. So I did not separate my projects out. Wanted to do one through at a time in this video because I wanted to show you the process I go through and not like individual, pull it out individually. So we're going to be jumping around a lot, but this is literally sequentially how I did things. I let things dry and I work on something else. I come back to it. I go back and forth because when things are drying, I have to do something else. I can't sit still. So I gave that peacock a coat of black. I actually went and scrubbed the chalk paint off in the kitchen and then gave it a coat of black. Back to my little frame here because this is my ADHD brain here. So this is a kind of a wax, I guess you could call. I think they call it a polish, a gilding polish, and it's called Cosmic Glitter, I think, and it's a shimmery wax, and I actually really like it. It's similar to Rub and Buff. Back to that in a minute. Here we are with our piggy. We are sanding off the edges. And I say we like there's multiple people doing this. It's just me. I don't know why I'm saying we. But here we are. Okay, so sanding off the fiber page here, um, was a little bit trickier than sanding off decoupage paper. It's just thicker and it has more like grit to it. It's very fibery. I don't know what else to call it. But I decided to use this bee ephemera paper sheet for the bucket because I really liked the look of it, and I have a lot of bee themed decor in my vintage booth right now. So I was thinking it would look cute with all of that. But I wanted it to have a bit more of a fall vibe since it has the coloring of it is very autumn to me. So I'm not gonna lie to you guys, this was a struggle and a half for me. I could have cut this entire project out, but I wanted to show you that I struggle with things too. Just because I make videos on YouTube doesn't mean I'm a perfect crafter. I don't think anything a perfect crafter actually exists. But it was just a new product for me to use, and so there's a learning curve there. Okay, back to our little box. So continuing with the bee motif theme, I this was a resin bee that came in the box that Cindy sent me, and I thought he was really a great looking little bee, so I painted it with the same gilding polish that I painted the little frame and knob with. And so I measured out the center of the box and figured out where to put them. I thought that the bee looked really great in that little frame. It was a perfect size for it. And so now I'm taking a very stiff bristled brush, like very, very stiff bristled brush. I actually use it for glue a lot, so it's even stiffer than normal. And I'm kind of trying to dry brush this gilding polish onto the box to keep the same copper color and give the paint a little bit of shine and dimension. Um, it's a little bit was a little bit tedious of a process just because the gilding polish is very thick and like it covers very, very well. So trying to dry brush a very small amount took a little bit of finesse and a very, very dry brush. Okay, peacock time. So when I painted this black, I used the Fusion Black Coal because I wanted the self-sealing because this spray that I'm using, I didn't want it to reactivate the paint. So what I'm using here is a bunch of different colors of Tim Holtz Distressed Mica Spray. And I haven't used these in a long time, and I forgot how much I love them. I also forgot how much they are water soluble. So there's again whole part I could have cut out here, but I wanted to show you that again, we all do things that don't work out and we just fix them. And that's the beauty of crafting is that you can mess up and fix it because that's what we're doing. We're fixing something and turning it beautiful. So if we mess up, we just fix it again. Okay, so this is a different way of using the distress mica spray, but it's a little bit more controlled. I could have also used a brush here, but I am just dipping the spritzer straw back into the ink, and you'll notice I'm kind of stirred a little bit and when I dip the straw back in because the mica in the spray does settle to the bottom. And the mica is the magic of the spray. It's so beautiful and shimmery. Um, what you just saw me going through, I have in the past when I got all my mica sprays, I did color samples where I just took scrap pieces of paper and sprayed the colors and labeled them so that I could see what they looked like on white paper, to have a better idea of what they look like outside of the bottle. So then I'm using some yellow and to give that kind of peacock feather look. And this is where I messed up. This is where I forgot how completely water soluble these sprays are, because what happened was I spent all this time adding the green and the yellow to the tail, and then when I went to add more of the teal peacock feather color, it made all of the yellow and green run because they're water activated and the sprays are liquid. So everything just became teal again. All right. So you'll see what we do in a minute. But I'm also going to use these distressed mica sprays. Oh, wow. I can't even talk. Let's try that again. Distressed mica sprays for my little piggies embellishments. And so, like I said, I wanted this to have an autumn theme. And so I found some wood cutouts in my stash, and I was trying to decide between like Farm Fresh and Hello Autumn, but I decided to go with Hello Autumn because on a pig, Farm Fresh makes it sound a little bit too much like I'm advertising bacon, and he was too cute for that. So anyway, that's my thought process behind this. Enjoy the random ramblings of me. So I wanted to color match and not just match, but use autumn colors that matched and complemented the colors on the pig's decoupage paper. So I am using my distress sprays and kind of blending a couple of different colors together. So I went with that I think that was burnt umber for the main color, and then I'm adding a little bit of a sort of, I think it was bronze, and then a lighter color so I can get some color variation. And you'll see when I hold it up to the light, with all these different colors added there, you get kind of a shimmery effect, and you can see that kind of blending ombre effect that the colors have together. And I thought it looked really great. So um, I'm going so fast here. I had to make my videos at very fast speed in order to get all this fit into my time limit here for this collaboration. Speaking of this collaboration, make sure that you check out the playlist and check out the other creatives that have participated. And the playlist is linked in my description below. And there are some super fun projects. I can't wait to see what everybody did. So again, I'm using some coloring blending here. I used it on a couple of leaves and I decided I really liked the effect. So I went back and kind of added some more colors of spray to the leaves so I could get that blended effect. So while I'm gluing these parts on, let's talk again about the uh, other creatives participating in this collaboration. So we are all members of Sonnet's Creative Network, which is an amazing group of women who support each other in our creative endeavors and our small businesses. And for some people in the group, this is a full time endeavor, and for others, it is a part time endeavor. And for me, it's a part time endeavor. I do have a couple of vintage booth spaces and my YouTube channel. Um, so, my full time job is actually in the education field. I work for a school district teaching other teachers. So back to my little piggy here. So I added all of my autumn embellishments, and now I'm going to change the hanger that was originally on this. When it came to me, it had a kind of twine hanger. So I had cut that off before I started painting it. And I went to my stash and I found some beads that complemented the coloring of the paper and the embellishments. And so I strung them up on this twine that also matched the paper, and now I'm going to tie it to the hangers on the back of this little piggy. So I really like the way that the beads turned out as the hanger. I think that they're the perfect complement for this little cute autumn wall hanging. What do you guys think? Okay, so now I am coming back to my peacock and I am adding the green and the yellow once again, because now that I have learned my lesson, I got all of the teal colors down that I wanted as a base for the tail, and then I came back and redid the green and yellow markings on the peacock feathers. Now, the Tim Holtz distress sprays do take a hot minute to dry, so I did accelerate it a bit with my heat gun, but for the most part, I just gave it time and came back. Okay, so back to my little bucket here. I'm cleaning up the edges of the paper with my little razor here. With the fiber paper, it was the easiest way to take care of it. So here is one of my biggest struggles with this, is that when I sprayed it and used the decoupage medium, the ink ran. And so it looked okay on most parts, but on that little part that I'm covering here with these uh, wow, resin castings. Words are hard sometimes. The ink ran a little bit more than was comfortable with, because I was okay with some of it being ran because it looked like just ephemera was fine, but that part had kind of a blue tint that I didn't like. Okay, so while the paint was drying on my um, castings for the bucket, I came back and added the yellow to the peacock feather. And then I had to redo the brown on that branch because when I sprayed the teal the other before, it did get on the brown. So I used two different colors for the wood. I used, I think one was called Fallen Acorn, and then the other one was, I think, tarnished brass or something along those lines, because I wanted to have a little bit more dimension. So this part I did edit out a lot because I spent a long time painting these little bees. I did a light coat on the wings and thicker coats on the bodies. And then I did kind of wipe back some of the colors on the wings so that it had that kind of iridescent look that bee wings have. So I did cut out a lot of that because it was very tedious but fun to paint the little bees. And then I took my finger and got a very light flat coat on my fingers of the same paint, this cake batter from DIY, to give that clock the dimension that it needed. And then I'm taking my Thick and Quick Tight Bond Quick and Thick glue to glue down my castings to cover that part that I wasn't happy with. And I actually think this has turned out to be the best part of this bucket because the little bees were so cute and the clock matched kind of with the theme of the ephemera. And so I was really happy with the way this turned out in the end, even though this was my problem child of this project video, um, with learning how to use that fiber paper sheet stuff. I really got to figure out what to call that because there's too many words here. And because the bucket had a little bit of rounding, the bee on the edge there kind of hit the curve a bit, so I used my heat gun to soften it and to get it to glue down all the way. Okay, so back to my peacock here. What I forgot to mention is that before I added the green and the yellow to the peacock feathers, I did take it outside and spray it with Rust-Oleum Clear Gloss Sealer because I didn't want those colors to blend again. And so you can see in that close-up that I just showed you, the iridescence that the mica sprays offer is just so beautiful. I absolutely love it. So when I opened this box from Cindy, I knew I didn't want to change this frame very much. I thought it was really beautiful the way it was, but I knew that peacock was going to look really cool on the side. And for staging it, I just created a quick collage with a book page and some cutouts from Stamperia's, I think it was Fairy Forest or something along those lines set.
And I thought it looked really pretty with the peacock. So here's the final product. What do you guys think? And here is the final bucket. I thought it turned out really cute, and I think it looks great with the flowers in it. And then if you want to have more of the fall vibe, you can turn it around and have not see the castings on there. And here's the final box with the copper bee framed accent and the little knob. I thought it was really sweet. And actually, now that I look at it, I think I might want to add some stamping or something later. So maybe I will do that. And I really love the way this little piggy wall hanging turned out. I think he's so cute, and I think he's going to be perfect for bringing in that fall vibe. And I look forward to more and more fall creations soon. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed everything. And don't forget to check out the other creatives in this collaboration. Check for the playlist below. And until next time, keep making some magic.